September 11th, 2001 was a very beautiful day. The blue sky was in the 70s.
I remember practically every minute of that day.
I got to work early, as I normally do, and I was in my office in 41 Park Row, which faces City Hall.
I went down to the Midtown Center to where the PACE Board of Trustees meeting was scheduled. That meeting was originally scheduled for the World Trade Center.
We were actually planning an event for student government. So a friend of mine and I were meeting in front of PACE with our disposable cameras to take some pictures of the building and some other things that we could put on a flyer.
The International Conference Center that we had at the World Trade Center, we were doing some renovations to it, and I thought it would be a great idea to have the board meeting at the World Trade Center, the first board meeting in the new construction. Well, the construction wasn't finished.
It was a beautifully sunny, clear day. And to think that by the end of that day, the city was covered in smoke and soot, and we were evacuating buildings and dealing with a disaster was just a shock.
And I was on the phone with my then supervisor, and I said, wow, what is that noise? It's a really loud plane. And I saw the plane go by my window, and I said, wow, it's a really low-flying plane. I'm on the phone. And then I saw it hit the building, and I guess I couldn't compute because I looked out and I saw all these people running. I said, oh my gosh, I gotta go. I think there's been a bomb.
I was coming in on a bus and I'm sitting there reading my newspaper and the guy next to me says, look, the World Trade Center is on fire.
We were just standing there outside taking very happy, smiley pictures, and then all of a sudden we saw people running and we just didn't know what was going on.
I had communicated with President David Caputo. Told him what I wanted to do was keep the students in school, in class, and prevent them from leaving and possibly going to the World Trade Center to see what was going on.
It was probably the scariest moment of my life, just not knowing really what was happening, not knowing where my friends and family were.
And then we drive a little bit further, we're getting to the Lincoln Tunnel, and then all of a sudden the second one's on fire. And a guy on the other side of the bus said, yeah, I just saw a plane fly into that. And I'm saying, okay, this is terrorism.
When the buildings did come down, a lot of people from the outside were coming in.
I came walking out of the subway into the cloud. Okay, the cloud had passed, but I looked up and it's all black and there's ash falling.
I went to the courtyard, and just after, I guess, the towers fell, and you couldn't see anything.
I took this tie, which still has some of the stains, it's still dirty, and clamped it over my mouth and walked over to 41 Park Row, across that big plaza in front of One Pace Plaza.
And it was crazy how the transformation from being just a happy student trying to plan a regular event to saying, oh my God, am I gonna die today?
I remember walking and this piece of paper wouldn't stop getting caught on my leg. It just kept sticking to me, and I looked at it and it was a PACE diploma from the towers, just a piece of paper. And I was like, that's so weird.
We then really decided how we were going to manage and triage this, and the president and the chief financial officer at the time, Len Sippel, came down to PACE to work with Mr. Abenati and others.
We really made the security office our command center, just trying to get everybody settled and trying to figure out where people were.
The Office of Emergency Management from the mayor's office came in and we spoke, and they wanted to make us a triage hospital in our admission area, which we were. We were a triage hospital. United States Army came in with other nurses and doctors from the area. Our student union was going to be a morgue. And as we know, there really wasn't any bodies, so we never really opened up as a morgue.
And I remember Victor Jabbar had the really good sense to tell the maintenance staff to turn off all, the intake valves. Otherwise, we would have dust throughout our whole building.
And it didn't suck in the outside air then, that would have made the entire building full of smoke and debris. And that saved people breathing it in. It also saved having to clean the whole institution.
The PACE community was absolutely wonderful. It wasn't only the president that rose to the occasion. It was the president, the faculty, and the students.
But I remember President Caputo was absolutely amazing. What an amazing leader. Just thinking about, what are we going to do tomorrow? What's the next thing we have to do?
We were trying to locate everybody we could locate, faculty, staff, and students.
And so what my wife and I did, we sent out emails. She was the head of women's studies. I had just become the head of honors. We both had listservs set up. We send out messages that night to our students. Tell us where you are, tell us you're okay. No answer. Now, yeah, I'm not that, but somebody should have answered between like 10 o'clock at night. Somebody should have responded. Nothing. We figured out early that morning, this is September 12th, figured out early that morning that Pace had gone completely dark.
David then decided that he would sleep in the dorms down here with students to reassure the parents of those students that it was now safe, that he felt it was safe. He felt it was so safe he slept here with them.
All of a sudden, pop, 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 pop. IMs started appearing. Now, I was pretty good on emails, but I'd never done instant messaging. The students were now telling me what was going on, and they were asking questions. And I started, and Nancy and me started, relaying information by instant message and then by a set of emails every day to our ever-growing list of emails. But for about a week, we were Pace University for thousands of Pace students. And that was our prime role, my wife and I, prime role.
The thing I remember that day is I remember President Caputo. Probably it was about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And he's sitting at my supervisor's desk. And he sat there. And he was thinking how to get the university going again.
We were united around a catastrophe. I mean, it was really heartening. You know, it was really, we really loved each other, took care of each other. It was really amazing.
The university at that time was a family, you know, where everybody was looking out after each other. Everybody was happy to see each other. Everybody was consoling each other. You know, what do you need? Where are you going?
Well, I will think about, first of all, the incredible loss of life. I mean, I had a fringe experience. We had students, we had alumni that were killed.
We've got to remember what happened to those people. We've got to never forget that. I'll think about the people who survived and the changes it's made in all of our lives.
I remember being in the front of One Pace Plaza, and it was a blue sky, and you had the Air Force jets flying over to say that we're here and we're going to prevent anything else from happening to you.
One of the things I'll be thinking about on the 10th anniversary of September 11th is how, yes, it's affected our lives, but no, it is not affected how we live. It hasn't changed our basic freedoms. It hasn't changed how we can pursue our passions and our dreams. This is still the best place in the world to pursue your passions, to pursue your dreams. Pace is still one of the best places in this city to do that. That was true then, it's true now.
The feeling that the institution responded, and responded well.
That we did a really good job.
Everyone reacted in a way to be helpful to the situation. And I was very, very proud to be a member of the Pace community.